Victor Newstroyev, and we are going to start our Christmas webinar. This webinar is devoted to interference. It's when you have to break the connection between enemy pieces or break the connection between enemy piece and a certain square. Okay, so we are waiting for more attendees to come. I'm sure that you found your gifts near your Christmas tree and now you're ready to get back to chess. Okay, I'm streaming this webinar on YouTube and Twitch, of course. By the way, guys, while we are preparing, you can just share how you spent this Christmas. Were you celebrating Christmas with your family or with your friends, or if you were not celebrating Christmas at all? Okay, with my cousins, it's really fun. Okay, and yeah, thank you for letting me know that the sound and video quality is good, because I was trying to apply new settings. Now everything should work. Oh, Parallax, which area do you live? Because roads are frozen always in the area where I live, no, except summer. In Boston. Oh, I have a student from Boston. He lives in the other country, but now he moved back. He's an American, and now he moved back and lives near Boston. Okay, fine, guys. Let's start. So today we are going to talk about interference, and this is the first position I would like to share. It's white to move. You see black is threatening to deliver a checkmate on f1. White has some compensation with these three pieces versus queen. However, what do you think white should do to be able to win the game? After the next move that white played here, black resigned. Can you imagine it? So the question is how to play for white, how to interfere, how to prevent black attack. Okay, so best MVP legend decides to sacrifice knight f3. Let's decide. If we play knight f3, we should calculate queen takes f3. Another idea is to play rook f7 or knight f7. Okay, let's calculate all the lines. So for example, if we play knight f7, no, queen b2 is a blunder, then just rook takes b2. What can be played after this move? Knight f7. Probably they can just continue with queen f4 move, securing the square. Or if not queen f4, then queen h4, threatening to checkmate on e1. And if you do knight h6, queen takes h6, and rook g7 doesn't do anything. I'll show you. So queen h4, knight h6 doesn't work. Queen e1 is a threat. This knight is hanging. So knight h6, queen h6, and rook g7 no longer makes sense because black can sacrifice the queen there. Looks like knight f7 doesn't work. Rook f7, another option. But rook f7 just rook takes, knight takes, queen takes, and black is winning. What else do we have? Only knight f3. So actually, your knight f3 suggestion was correct. If you play knight f3, you break the connection between the queen and this important square on f1. And what do they have to play? No, they can't capture on b2. They'll be down a rook, which is decisive in this position. There are not enough pawn compensation for that rook. What else can be done? They may move the queen, but where? If they move the queen here, it's just rook g7. Actually, it doesn't really matter where they move the queen. No, if they play this move, it's bishop takes f6, and after this, at least we are a bishop up. But we can play this, check, rook g6, and black has to sacrifice the rook. The game is over. If they take with the queen, then rook g7, king h8, and this rook takes on g6, opening the attack of the bishop. Of course, they may block, but then just rook goes here. Even if the queen blocks, yeah, we take, check, rook takes, and then rook g8 is a checkmate. So knight f3. This is the key move that not only opened the diagonal for our bishop, but what is more important, closed the file, preventing their queen's attack. Okay, the second position is this, taken from the game between Anton Korobov and Andrei Volokitin. So what's your opinion how to play here? No, wait, it's black to play. What do you suggest? You mean rook d6? No, rook d6 loses the game because of queen takes e7. Queen check on h4, you mean? Queen h4 leads to mate. No, queen h4, queen h3. That's the main problem. That's why it's not a checkmate. Moreover, don't forget that white has extra bishop. If you exchange too much material, then the position will be completely losing. So maybe, guys, so you see queen h4 is a good idea. However, the problem is there's a queen that can move to h3. So maybe this is a chance for you to interfere and prevent queen attack of h3. What do you think? This is how it works actually. Okay, rook blocks on f5. Well, that makes sense. Let's analyze it. So if, for example, e takes f5, it's queen to h4. Yeah, and if they do something else, then we play this move. Okay, so rook f5, but what if they start with bishop h2? How would you play then? Oh, let me just show the main idea. After queen e7, this is a checkmate. Check, they can block with the bishop, but rook takes, and then bishop f2 is a checkmate. However, what if after rook f2 they play king bishop to h2 to be able to escape with the king immediately? So take queen first, they take, and then you suggest rook h5. No, first of all, you can play rook h5 immediately. If they take the queen, it's still a checkmate. But no, if king g1, then bishop f2 first. So that's why they may continue with this move. Ah, wait a sec, guys. So if here you decide to take, they're gonna take here first, king moves, and then this move. And if now you decide to play this move, they can probably escape. So bishop c4. Ah, if bishop c4, then you can play bishop f2 immediately. Okay, bishop c4, bishop f2, but rook g8. And if king goes there, take, and exchange the rooks, after which white will be winning. And if the king takes on g8, then rook e5, exchanging the rooks, and white will be still a minor piece up, a bishop up. So taking on e6 doesn't work, only rook h5. Now rook d2, how would you play now? Okay, then you suggest rook takes h2 first, king to g1 and take the queen. Oh, I think you shouldn't take the queen, just take on d2, that should be enough, because bishop a3 is a checkmate on the next move, and this position is of course winning. You are already a rook up, and you are threatening with a mate, so they have to give up more pieces. So probably bishop d3, you can take here, then you can take the bishop on d3. Okay, so nice idea. With rook f5 here, you interfere this diagonal and then threaten a checkmate. Okay, the next game to analyze, the next fragment is this. What's wrong in this position? What do you think happens in case if black plays h2 with the idea to promote? Mate on white is coming. Okay, so h2. And the best thing that white can do in this position is just a perpetual check. Queen c8, king h7, queen f5, king h6, then probably bishop g5, and the game... no, king h6 is a losing move, I'll show you. Here, this move, king goes forward, this, and this. So here they have to retreat, and then queen goes back to c8. If they play g6, then after this move, it will be winning for white again. King goes there. Here, king g5, bishop a7, king g4, queen h4. Oh, king f5, queen g5. Sorry, not queen g5, but queen f6, king g4, queen f3. This is a checkmate. However, of course, in this position after queen c8, black has the option to block, to play rook to d8. And now, if let's say bishop d8, they continue with h1 equals queen, however, still queen f5. No, sorry, not queen f5, but bishop to h4 first to block the h file. King goes there, and that should be a draw. So h2 right now doesn't work. What do you think white should do first? I mean, black should do first to be able to promote successfully, to avoid a perpetual check. What comes to your mind? Give a check using the rook. Okay, so for example, this check, but king comes to d4. And what then? Another check, but he goes to c5. Now when the rook is here, queen c8, queen f5 is definitely a perpetual check. So rook e1 doesn't work. What else? What else do you think? Yeah, making a check with the queen makes more sense. So queen goes there. King, where? No, if here it's rook d4, only to f3. And blocking, of course, doesn't make sense. In such a case, just h2 immediately. So king goes to f3 and h2 now. And how to react to this move? So what if white now plays queen to c8? If king f7, looks like it's a draw, right? Yes, here you can play with your rook, and this is how you create, you interfere. They, for example, have to take with the bishop, after which you promote with a check because the king is already on f3, and then you successfully checkmate. Because comparing to the previous variation, h1 is a check and you continue the attack. If they take with the queen, you go there and no more checks except these, but after this check you can just do this and h1 anyway on the next move. So you promote with a check and with two queens on the board you are likely to deliver a checkmate. Okay, fine. So here the key idea was to play rook d8 to force them to take with the bishop and break the queen's attack. The next is a bit complicated. So it's black to move. Black is already up the exchange, but the problem is that it's not easy to find the move because white is about to take and then maybe fork or deliver a check. And if king goes there, then it's a discovered attack. And if king goes to h7, it's bishop c2. So how to play? What do you think, guys, by the way, about queen takes g2? My idea is that queen takes queen, bishop takes here, king takes on g2, and then the knight is hanging. Does this line work? What do you think? Yeah, white checks before taking the bishop. So queen g2 actually doesn't work. After bishop takes g2, there is an intermediate check, knight f7, and the knight there is protected. So king g8 doesn't make sense. King g2. Two minor pieces for the rook. So this line doesn't work. What do you suggest black to play? So, what can you suggest? Don't forget about the topic today, which is interference. Okay, Parallax suggests maybe interference with bishop on d5. Let's calculate it. So bishop d5, bishop takes d5, and rook takes d8. And now the bishop is pinned. If bishop takes queen, then the enemy queen is lost, and white black is up the exchange. Bishop d5, what else can be played? Queen takes d5, but queen d5 is even easier because queen takes here. And in case of knight f7, just queen takes f7. I'll show you. So queen d5. Queen takes there. No, if bishop takes, the knight is lost and black is winning because of extra exchange. But if knight f7, black has to sacrifice the exchange, or to sacrifice the queen, and this is a still winning position. In the game after bishop d5, white continued with bishop c2. What would you play now to simplify? Queen takes g2. Yeah, now this line may work. Why? Because there is knight f7, but the knight on f7 is not protected. Knight f7, king attacks this knight. If knight takes h6, we are okay with it. Then, for example, rook comes there and rook d2. But what if they play bishop b3 to keep more pieces and to create a discovered attack? How would you continue? So, because if we play, let's say, bishop to b7, they can play knight d6 and take our bishop. However, the bishop is still hanging. We should solve this problem somehow. What do you suggest? Yeah, the only move is bishop f1. Because if we play bishop f3, they have knight e5, a discovery check, and they capture. Bishop e4, they have knight d6. For bishop b7 as well. Bishop c6, they have knight e5. The only safe square is on f1. But then knight h6, king f8, knight g4, and no more checks. b5, knight e5, bishop c4. It's okay to let them capture the pawn because the position is already winning. Rook c8. In the game, they played with the bishop back, which was inaccuracy. If, for example, this move, then I'm sure you know how to play. What can you say? How does black win in this exact position? Yeah, just sacrifice the rook and then promote first. So bishop b3, rook d8. Threatening with rook d2, rook takes b2. Bishop e6, rook d2, rook takes b2, and then white resigned because of the distant pass pawn. For example, bishop g8, b3, king e3. Rook goes there. If bishop takes, the bishop is over. Okay, maybe I just played a bad move. Let's say I play this. But if I play this, then check, king d3 or f3. No, doesn't really matter. Then I play this, and if bishop a2, just rook e1 and promote. Oh, no, king c2 then. Okay, in such a case, I'll just capture this pawn. King goes to c3, king f6, bishop goes there, then oh, okay, let me just take both pawns. Check, he takes there, then this move. 5. Yeah, rook f5 should be a winning move. Rook f5, bishop f5, king goes there, and then just king f4, king e2, king f3, king goes there, and then I push the pawn, and then he is forced to move. So then black promotes. A completely winning position. So what's the main idea? Bishop d5 to interfere, to make this knight hanging, and at the same time to secure f7 with the bishop. Okay, now a more complicated position. It's white to move. What do you think? What do you think white should do? What exactly to interfere in this position? Pawn on c3, but pawn c3, no, let's say maybe this move makes sense. Yeah, so you're absolutely right about this dark squared bishop. So you suggest pawn to c3. But if bishop takes c3, you take with the knight. The queen now plays the role of a bishop and controls these two squares. So c3 doesn't look good. You may also consider this option. Knight takes e7, knight f6, and the idea is that if they take, the game should be over. Knight f5 doesn't work. But they don't take, they play this move. How to play? Let's say this with queen h6, but knight g8 securing this square. And if knight takes, the bishop is still protecting the main diagonal. So it doesn't work. Instead of knight e7 or instead of c3, what else you can suggest in this position? Okay, another suggestion is e5 here. Let's calculate e5. So if we play e5, they have several ways to take. They can capture with both knights, with the pawn and with the bishop. Now it's easier to realize what happens in case if bishop takes. How would you play, by the way? If bishop takes e5, what do you think? So bishop e5 we can take with the knight, but I think we'd better take with the rook because we may need this knight to check on f6. So rook e5, and if now they take, we play knight to f6. If they take with the pawn, then after queen f6 we checkmate. If they move the king to h8, then what? What can you suggest, by the way? Maybe bishop f8 still works, right? Or queen h4, the move that I like better because we are threatening with immediate checkmate and our knight cannot be taken. Yeah, queen h4 is the best option. So taking with the bishop is a bad idea. Let's say, what if pawn takes? How would you continue? However, maybe you already know the answer. Take it. Take the pawn, you mean? Or what? If you take the pawn, then one of the knights takes, probably. The fourth knight takes on e5. Yes, here on knight gf6, and after king h8 you apply the same idea with queen h4. So these, king f8, queen h8 mate. And if they take, you checkmate on g7 immediately. Okay, now what if this knight takes? What do you think? How to play? Same idea, you mean, of knight f6? Knight gf6, but this time pawn takes, and if you play with the queen I have knight f3, don't forget about it. Knight f3 doesn't work. Okay, I have if you take with the queen I have knight g4 and then I take there. So if knight takes, king goes to h8, and queen h4 now doesn't work because bishop g7 is no longer a checkmate. King escapes to e7. Oh, I can even continue with this move because if bishop g7 is played, king takes on f6. So queen h8 doesn't work. Maybe you can suggest queen h4 doesn't work. Maybe you can suggest a better move for white. Bishop f8 right now. What's the purpose of this move? To play queen h6. So bishop f8. Okay. If bishop f8 is played, then still knight d7 to open the diagonal and to cover the g7 square. No, sorry, it doesn't work. You can play better. What else you can suggest, guys? Bishop f8 is not a good move. Queen h4 doesn't work here. Knight e8 is a good suggestion. Knight e8, exactly. Here you're threatening to checkmate. And what do they have to play? They have to move this knight out. But if they do this, you can take on f7, threatening to checkmate with bishop g7. And if they take on e8, it's still a mate. So let's say king goes to g8 instead, then knight comes to d6, and you're threatening here. If you, for example, look at the material, white is already, no, it's equal. Yeah, it's equal, but because of the strong attack on f7, plus queen f6 ideas, white is completely winning. So now let's look at this knight. Now here I'm sure the answer is obvious. I'm not going even to ask it. So e5, and he cannot capture on e5 with any of his pieces. In the game it was bishop takes a1. How would you continue in this position? What do you think? Rook takes a1. So what's the idea? Instead of doing some active actions and trying to checkmate, you just decided to get the material back? No, at least a part of that material. Actually, yes, rook a1 makes sense, and this is the best option. With this move, you get rid of this dark square defender, and you can still apply the idea of checkmate. For example, what? No, if they still capture, you have knight gf6, and then after this move queen h4. If they just play queen d8 to secure e7, what do you think you can do? So what comes to your mind? There are several good moves that may work. Back rank was... I see. So you took because of the rook being hanging on a1. Yeah, I agree with you. What do you think? What's the best continuation here? Guys, knight gf6. Okay, let's check it. Knight gf6, they take, you take with the other knight, they move the king there. How to continue then? No, let's say you take, pawn takes, and then let's talk about this move. So you are down a rook, but actually these two rooks are not participating in the game. And it's difficult to suggest a move. You are not threatening with bishop g7, but you are threatening with bishop g5. For example, bishop d7, bishop g5, and after h5 just take with the knight. And this position is completely winning. This move back, queen h7, it should be over. If, let's say, queen moves... you play knight f6 and checkmate with queen h6. Okay, so yes, it could make sense even to play knight gf6. But the best reaction to this move is bishop f8 immediately. No, maybe not the best, but one of the best. If king takes, it's queen h6. King goes there, and then you play with one of the knights, and then with the pawn to threaten a checkmate on g7. So he has to sacrifice the queen, but after he does it, it's still a checkmate, but on h7. Another good move here is bishop takes c4, b takes c4, and then just e takes d6, because after queen takes d6, you can play with one of your knights to be able to distract the pawn, because in such a case the queen on d6 is hanging. Wait, no, let's do it with the other knight. King goes there, and then because of the knight on g4 we can play this move and join the queen to the attack. That's it. So after queen d8 there were several good moves that worked, this, and even this. In the game it was queen d2. How would you play now? What do you think? How to continue? Queen g3? Yeah, but there is no guarantee that queen g3 works. Let's try it. Queen g3, queen d5. So, queen g3, then I don't know how to continue. What else you can suggest instead of queen g3? Okay, guys, while you are waiting, there is a minute of a self-promotion. So I want you to join my Instagram, so please follow me. I'm posting there every day, so here you may find some helpful material, and if you just want to know about how I teach chess, about my student success, and what and just maybe about my lifestyle, you can find it here on my Instagram. This is the link. Now let's get back. So yeah, here knight e7 is the best move. What does this move do? Well, first of all, king h8 means queen f6 checkmate, so they have to take. And if they take, then queen f6. You may say, okay, but what about knight f5? If knight f5, it's just bishop d2. And then you just win because of a lot of extra material. If we calculate, you have queen versus rook and versus knight and rook plus a strong attack, so that's enough to succeed. You can probably play this, rook moves, and then e6, opening the position. So after that move, they resigned. So the key idea of this position was to play e5, to interfere with this diagonal, to be able to apply knight f6, check, and then a checkmate on g7. Okay, another position which is also quite complicated is taken from one of the most recent games between Levon Aronian and Vishay Anand. Please look at this position. Black has a strong attack, the king is in the corner, but the problem is that every time black plays queen h4, white gonna play queen h7 to exchange. King h7, h3 now, knight f2, king h2, a6, so black is down the exchange in this position, but their pieces activity compensated. However, the position is not winning for black here. If, for example, here instead of playing queen h4 you just decide to take, then queen h7 is coming and they cover here. In case of knight f2 they can just sacrifice the exchange and then continue with f5 and maybe initiate a strong attack. So what do you think? What should black play in this position to be able to succeed? So what suggestions do you have? This is the last position for today. Please, please show what you learned from this webinar. This is maybe the most complicated one, but I'm sure you can find the answer. Okay. Okay, so yeah, everyone is welcome on the webinar, even if you are 900. Maybe even especially if you are 900 player, because our webinars this is where you can improve. Sacrifice the rook for the knight on c3. What's the purpose? Oh, they take just. What did you achieve? It's about interference. How can you interfere in this position? To be able to continue with the strong attack, what comes to your mind? Knight f2? No, knight f2, this is the idea. Oh, wait, if you play knight f2, they take with their rook, and if you take with the bishop, they take with the queen. So, you are down a minor piece. Come on, guys, please suggest the moves. By the way, there will be no webinar next week because I'm going to celebrate New Year. This is the main holiday in Russia. But there will be webinar in 2 weeks. So we'll make a break to celebrate New Year and then we'll continue. So bishop e3, what's the idea of bishop e3? Well, bishop e3, they can just do what? Queen h7 probably. Queen h7, king f8. What then? Take the knight. And if knight goes there, then the bishop is hanging. No ideas, guys? Okay, here f5 to break the connection between the queen and the h7 square. Now the queen can't go there. However, it's not the end. They may continue with this move to stop queen h4. It's not a big problem for us. We continue with queen f6. What if now knight moves? Because the knight is hanging. Let's say the knight goes there. How would you continue? What do you think? No, f5 was a good move. Actually, this is the move that you should analyze, and you were absolutely right when you decided to calculate this option. But the other problem is that you couldn't calculate it properly because it's a really complicated position. So even Levon Aronian blundered at f5. However, Vishy Anand was able to calculate it properly. So what then? Bishop e5 with queen h4 coming. Let's no, guys, bishop e5 doesn't work because if only we play this bishop f4, and then looks like they have enough defenders. Okay, so what should we do when we calculate something but our opponent does not follow the move order? That was the question. Let me answer it. If you calculated everything properly and your opponent deviates, it means that he makes a weaker move and you can take the advantage of it immediately. Or maybe not immediately, but in a few moves. And or maybe he played a good move and you just blundered it. That's why every time when you calculate the line, you should ask yourself if your opponent can find the move to improve the line and get a better position. So ask yourself, can he improve, or am I missing something? When you play a chess game, it should be a dialogue between you and yourself when you ask questions and you have to reply. And at the same time, you have to imagine yourself at the place of your opponent. So, like, what would I do if I were him, or what would I do if I were playing with black pieces, or if with white pieces if you are black. Okay, so knight goes to e5 here, and the correct answer is not queen h4, of course, because of knight f3. No, knight f3, bishop takes, but g takes f3, and this is how they stop queen h2 attack. You can of course deliver this check, but come on, it's only a check, and you are still down the material. They play queen e2, bishop e3, and successfully solve their problem. So queen h4 doesn't work, but knight h2 works. Because if king h2, it's queen h4 mate in 1. And the rook is hanging. So what to suggest? Maybe move the rook? Maybe, but now queen h4 is good. Or maybe queen h6. Yeah, let's play queen h6. I just don't wanna. I wanna avoid this move. And the next move is just knight somewhere. So knight f3, knight takes f3 is a checkmate. g3 probably, but g3 cannot be played. There is a bishop here. So that's why in the game Aronian played h3. How would you continue? What do you think? Queen g6. Yeah, queen g6, because this knight cannot be taken. If it's taken, then it's queen h6 or h7, checkmate. So queen takes g6, queen e2. We are still down the exchange, but then queen h5, threatening to take. Don't forget about the bishop. How to play now? In the game it was queen d3, which was a bad move, and this is where black could interfere. What do you think? So in this game, black applied the idea of interference even twice. Maybe bishop e3. Yes, exactly, bishop e3. After which black resigned. So what's the idea? It's just interfere the third rank. They can't move the king, they can't secure it, so they have to take but get a checkmate on h3. No, it's not on h3 but on g2. If they take with the queen, then knight takes there, g2 and h3 are hanging both. No, this is probably the last option. But then bishop takes f3, g takes, and it's a checkmate. Could they play better instead of queen d3? Yes, they could. They could try this move. How would you continue in this case? That move wasn't played in the game. After queen d3, they blundered bishop e3 and resigned. But this is a possible move, and black now has to play accurately. Knight f2. Yes. Oh, by the way, here I also want you to notice that this move doesn't do anything. So knight f2. Yes, knight f2 works. King h2. No, it doesn't. If you take there, they take with the queen, so it doesn't work. Bishop f3 immediately should be played. No, g takes f3 is a blunder. So queen takes f3, and now knight f2. So king goes to h2. If it goes to d1, you can play just knight d1. King goes somewhere, you exchange the queens, then you take on c3, and this position is completely winning. So f3 dies, and you will be 2 pawns up. But if the king goes to h2, then you have to exchange the queens and play knight d3. So because bishop c3, b takes c3, and rook c3 is too optimistic here. Black is better but not winning. Knight d3 first. For example, king g2 and a6. So first you secure everything. You see, for example, here knight b5 cannot be played because of rook c2. And then let's say they move, you play these, and the bishop is lost because it has just no squares to escape. So knight d3, how to play? What else can be done? Maybe this. Then still a6, and you are threatening to take, for example, on. You can take there. No. Just king f7 maybe now. Oh, still a winning position, but A6 is enough to secure your position, and then you're just winning because of a better pieces locations. Okay, fine. So the key idea was to play f5 to break the connection between queen and the h7 square. And the second idea to interfere was to play bishop e3 to break the defense of the h3 pawn by the enemy queen. This is how black was able to win the game. Okay, that was actually all that I wanted to show today. I'm sure you learned the idea of interference and now you can apply it in your games. So today our webinar was a bit shorter than usual, but actually there were just a few attendees. I believe most people are spending time with their family, and or maybe they're just sleeping after they celebrated Christmas at night. Okay guys, so thank you for joining. There will be no webinar next week, but there will be a webinar in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks it will be the 9th of January. So please don't miss it, and if you enjoy my webinars, please share it with your friends, chess players, and bring them to the next webinar. You can just invite them. Okay, so see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.